My name is Camille Dorsey, and I own a small floral cafe tucked between two glass towers in downtown Seattle. Every morning smells like espresso and roses, the kind of scent that clings to your skin no matter how many showers you take. When my mother called that Thursday, I wiped my hands on a linen towel, thinking she was checking on my day. Instead, her voice came through, sharp as a lemon slice. Harper wants everything elegant tonight. Luxury, not latte foam. And, darling, you always smell like coffee beans. I said nothing. Only listened to the hum of the steamer behind me, the sound that had paid their mortgage for years. She thinks it would be best if you didn't come, my mother continued. The event is high profile. Influencers. Sponsors. The Brennan family. You understand, right? I could almost hear her manicured fingers tapping the phone. I asked quietly. So, I'm not invited to my own sister's engagement dinner because I smell like work? She sighed. That signature, exhausted sigh she reserved for my existence. Don't be dramatic. Camille, you just don't fit the vibe. I looked at the line of fresh bouquets waiting for pickup and said, I get it. I'm the stain on the tablecloth. For a long second, neither of us spoke. The hiss of the espresso machine filled the space between us, a reminder of everything I'd built that she never stepped inside to see. I'll tell Harper you understand, she said finally. Tone clipped. Already moving on, I said. Of course. Because arguing with her was like shouting into velvet soft. Useless. Swallowed whole. When the call ended, I placed the phone beside the register, feeling the warmth fade from my palm. Outside, a drizzle began to trace the window glass, each drop catching the gray light. I told myself to keep working, to focus on the orders lined up for delivery. But her words lingered like smoke in the air. You don't fit the vibe. Maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't fit in their world of marble countertops and borrowed grace. But I knew this much. They'd built that world with my money and my silence. And tonight would be the last time they mistook either for weakness. The Pedal and Grind had grown from a rented stall to a small corner cafe filled with the quiet hum of people who preferred sincerity over spectacle. I spent my mornings trimming roses and steaming milk, my hands smelling of petals and espresso long after the doors closed. Leo, my manager, once said, "You've turned labor into beauty." I laughed and told him, or maybe just debt into fragrance. The truth sat somewhere in between. Every month I wired $5,000 to my father's account, labeled family expenses. He called it support. I called it repayment for being born into a house that measured worth by reputation. When he said, "You're keeping us afloat." Camille, I reminded him. "It's temporary," he always replied. "That's what you said last year. My parents lived in a brownstone they couldn't afford." But to them, appearances were oxygen. Harper's world was brighter, curated, and sterile. She filmed in soft light, wearing silk robes while I stood behind the counter, aprons streaked with coffee. Once she told me, "Your cafe is cute, but you could make more money teaching people how to fake it." I asked her, "Would that make me more lovable? Or just more like you?" She rolled her eyes and said, "You wouldn't understand the brand." She was right. I didn't want to. Sometimes, when the cafe emptied, I watched her posts flash across my phone, champagne flutes, hotel suites, captions about gratitude written from borrowed balconies. Each photo felt like a receipt I had paid for. My father handled her sponsorship invoices. My mother planned her events. And I financed the illusion they called success. I never complained. Not even when the rent on my shop doubled. I told myself I was investing in peace. The peace, however, was thin as sugar glass. One call from my mother had already cracked it, revealing everything beneath the gloss. Leo asked me that evening, "You all right?" "Boss?" I said. "I just realized something." He looked at me. "Waiting." And I added, "I've been feeding a family allergic to honesty." He didn't answer, only nodded. Because some truths didn't need witnesses. By closing time, the roses had wilted slightly, their scent heavier, almost bitter, like the weight of love that had gone unpaid too long. They arrived just after opening, their voices cutting through the soft murmur of the cafe like polished knives. My mother started first. "Camille, we need your help. The caterer canceled last night, completely unreliable." My father added, "It's a disaster. We can't find anyone this late." "You'll have to handle it." I asked, "Handle what exactly?" And Harper's answer came sharp as glass. "The desserts. Obviously. 200 guests. White luxury theme. Nothing that smells like coffee." "Ah," I told her calmly. "Then you'll need another baker. My menu isn't designed for silence." She laughed. "Quick and cold. You're always so difficult. Can't you do one thing without making it about pride?" My mother turned to me. Her tone rehearsed. "Camille, it's for family. You've always wanted to contribute. Haven't you?" I said. "I thought 5 years of payments counted." My father's eyes flickered. "This isn't about money. It's about showing up." Showing up?" I asked. "You uninvited me yesterday." My mother sighed, as though I'd missed the point. "That was different. Tonight is public. People will notice if you're not part of it." I said, "They never noticed me when I was paying for it." Harper's voice rose, brittle with entitlement. "Oh my God. You're impossible. We're giving you a chance to be seen. And you're throwing it away." I smiled faintly. Maybe being unseen was the only thing that kept me sane. 18. My father leaned forward, lowering his voice. "You will do this. Camille. No arguing. You owe us." I asked. "For what? For the debt I've already repaid?" He said. "For the family name. You don't get to embarrass us." I looked past him, watching the light on the espresso machine. "Then maybe you should have thought of that before calling me a stain." Harper rolled her eyes. "Fine. We'll just tell people you were too emotional to help." I said. "Tell them whatever fits the vibe." 2. As they turned to leave, I noticed the door open again and a man step quietly inside. My mother's voice softened instantly. "Cole. Darling. You're early." He nodded to her, but his eyes were on me. "So, this is the famous sister," he said, his tone unreadable. And just like that, their emergency stopped being mine. After my family left, Cole stayed behind, studying the menu with unnecessary attention. "You don't strike me as the type to take orders from anyone," he said. I wiped the counter and told him, "I used to. It's how I learned what silence costs." He smiled faintly. "That explains why your name wasn't on the event proposal I received last month." His words landed like a weight I hadn't agreed to carry. I asked, "What proposal?" And he said, "The one from your father's company, Dorsey Events. It listed your cafe as their exclusive dessert vendor." I frowned. "He used my brand?" Cole nodded. "Without your consent." "Yes. The contract's missing your signature. That's illegal under vendor law." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "He's been using my work to cover his debts." Cole's tone softened. "Then maybe it's time you stop letting him—" boss." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You know they're presenting this as Harper's design, the perfect family collaboration. But every invoice, every transfer, traces back to you. I said. That's the pattern. They take my effort, rename it Grace, and sell it as their own. He watched me quietly before asking, "Why keep paying?" I answered. Because cutting them off felt like cutting oxygen. He shook his head. No. It's them breathing through you. You're suffocating. It's still way. Something in his calmness unsettled me. I asked, "Why are you telling me this?" And he said, "Because I've seen people like them turn honesty into background noise. You deserve to be heard." I wanted to argue, but the truth sat too close. They wouldn't listen. I said, "They only hear applause." Cole replied, "Then let them perform for an empty room." It was the first time someone had spoken to me without agenda. Only clarity. When he left, the cafe felt different, less like a refuge, more like evidence. Leo came over. Sensing the shift, "Everything okay?" he asked. I said, "Apparently. I've been financing a show I was never invited to." He didn't respond. Just met my eyes and nodded. Outside, the city lights blurred in the window's reflection. And for the first time, the cracks in their perfect world began to show through mine. 2 days later, Cole came back, carrying his laptop like it held a secret. "I tried reaching your business email," he said. "But the message bounced. Thought you might have changed domains." I told him. "No. It's the same address I've used for years." He turned the screen toward me. "Then explain this. Every email from my office to you was forwarded to another inbox, your father's." My chest tightened. "You're sure?" He nodded once. "Positive. He's been screening your correspondence for months." I stared at the list of messages. Offers for partnerships, catering contracts, sponsorship proposals, each one rerouted before it ever reached me. He said he handled my business taxes. I whispered. He must have set the redirect when he built the website. Cole's tone was careful. He's controlling your communication pipeline. That's not oversight. That's sabotage. I said quietly. He calls it protection. Says the world would eat me alive if I didn't stay close. Cole met my eyes. He's already doing that. Just slower. Dues note. The silence that followed felt heavier than anger. I asked, "Why are you showing me this?" And he said, "Because you deserve to know how deep it goes. And because I still want to work with you directly, not through anyone else." I closed the laptop gently. "So, I lost more than emails," he said. "No. You just misplaced them. They're still yours." I almost laughed. He stole time. You can't return that. Cole's answer was simple. Then take it back all at once. After he left, I sat behind the counter. The cafe's hum, muffled by the noise in my head. My father hadn't just intercepted opportunity. He'd rewritten the story of what I was allowed to become. For years, I thought silence was loyalty. Now it sounded a lot more like permission. The ballroom shimmered under chandeliers. A stage built for appearances. My mother approached first. Her smile fixed. "You made it." "Thank God. I was afraid you'd make a scene by not showing up." I said, "Don't worry. Mother, the scene's already here." She frowned, confused. But before she could reply, Harper rushed over. Breathless, "Please tell me you brought the cake." I looked at her flawless reflection in the mirrored wall. "No," I said. "I brought receipts." Her voice sharpened. "Receipts? What are you talking about?" I laid the folder on the table beside the champagne tower. Every transaction, every transfer. The vendors paid through my business. Not yours. You owe me more than gratitude. My father's face tightened. "Camille." "Not here." I turned to him. "Exactly here." The same place you pretended we were a perfect family. Let's keep the performance consistent. He hissed. You're humiliating us. I said. No. You did that yourselves when you forged my name. Too. Harper laughed. Too loudly. Oh. Please. You think anyone cares about your little cafe contracts? This is a celebration. Not your therapy session. Cole's voice cut through the noise. Actually, Harper, I do care. Because those little contracts were routed through my office. She turned toward him. Color draining. Coles. Don't start, but he kept going. Your father-in-law-to-be committed fraud to fund this wedding. The money didn't come from sponsors. It came from Camille's business account. The room fell silent. My mother stammered. That's absurd. Cole held up the paperwork. Not when it's backed by bank records. Dawn. I faced them calmly. You used my trust to keep your lifestyle alive. You built this night on my labor and called it love. My father barked. We were protecting you from failure. I said. No. You were protecting yourselves from exposure. Harper's voice cracked. You're jealous. You've always wanted to ruin me. I looked at her gently. If I wanted to ruin you, Harper, I'd let you keep pretending. She shook her head. Trembling. You're a parasite. I smiled faintly. Strange accusation. Coming from someone who never paid for her own reflection. My mother pleaded. Cammy, please stop this madness. We can fix it privately. I said. There's nothing left to fix. The truth isn't broken, it's just been ignored. Cole set the papers down between us. This partnership ends tonight, he said to Harper. Then turned to me. And so does the silence. My father muttered something about lawyers. But no one listened. Guests whispered behind crystal glasses. The music died. And the applause that followed wasn't for the couple. It was for the collapse they'd built themselves. The night ended without music. Just the sound of crystal breaking under hurried footsteps. Cole spoke first. His voice even. This engagement is over. I won't build a life on theft. Harper reached for him, whispering, You don't mean that. He stepped back. I do. My father tried to intervene. But Cole cut him off. Save it for the auditors. My mother called after him, her voice trembling. We can explain. He didn't turn around. You already did. Dote it. The guests scattered like witnesses to a quiet crime. Their silence louder than outrage. My parents stood frozen. The perfect image of people realizing the mask had fused to their faces. I watched Harper sink into a chair. Her hands still glittering with borrowed diamonds. She said weakly, You've destroyed everything. I told her, No. Harper, you just saw it fall without me holding it up. My father muttered something about rebuilding. But the words sounded hollow, stripped of the power it once held. When I left the ballroom, the air outside was cold enough to sting. Behind me, their empire of aesthetics began to collapse. Not with fire or fury, but with the soft sound of truth finally settling where it belonged. 6 months later, Seattle felt lighter, as if the air itself had forgotten their names. The new branch of the Pedal and Grind opened inside one of Cole's hotels, built on clean contracts and clear lines. When he visited the launch, he said, I'm glad you didn't let them take your work with them. I smiled. They only owned the silence. The rest was always mine. He nodded, understanding more than he said. My phone buzzed that evening with an email from Harper. You won. Camille. Hope it feels good. I typed a reply, then deleted it. The cursor blinked like a heartbeat before I closed the screen. I whispered to myself, It's not about winning. It's about being done. The inbox stayed empty. And for the first time, that felt like peace. The cafe was busy the next morning, filled with the hum of people who didn't know my story but loved the warmth I poured into their cups. Leo handed me the day's receipts and said, "We're sold out again." I told him, "Then we're finally free." Outside, the rain touched the windows like forgiveness. I stood by the counter, the scent of coffee and fresh roses rising together. And for the first time in years, it didn't smell like work, it smelled like beginning. Thank you for staying with me until the end. If you've ever carried the weight of keeping everyone else's world intact, I hope my story reminds you that letting go isn't cruelty, it's clarity. Freedom begins quietly. The moment you stop explaining your worth. Until next time, take gentle care.